The South China Sea has always been a stormy crossroads of history, geography, and raw geopolitical power. It is a body of water that carries not just trade routes but also the ambitions of nations, and every ripple on its surface seems to echo with centuries of unresolved disputes. Recently, this turbulent theater once again found itself at the center of global attention when China's warships moved to block the USS Higgins, an American destroyer, near the disputed Scarborough Shoal. The incident immediately triggered headlines worldwide and raised alarm bells in Washington, Beijing, and beyond. For many in the United States, this confrontation was more than just another maritime standoff. It was a signal that tensions in Asia are moving closer to the breaking point. To fully understand the magnitude of what unfolded, one has to appreciate the importance of the South China Sea. It is not just any body of water, it is one of the busiest maritime trade arteries in the world. Trillions of dollars worth of goods pass through these waters each year. Oil tankers, container ships, fishing fleets, and naval armadas alike ply the sea, making it an economic lifeline for nations far beyond Asia. For China, control of the South China Sea means projecting power and protecting what it considers its historic territory. For the United States, keeping these waters open is about safeguarding freedom of navigation and ensuring that international law remains the rule of the seas rather than the will of the strongest. Enter the USS Higgins, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer known for its cutting-edge weaponry, radar systems, and versatility in missions ranging from missile defense to anti-submarine warfare. On that fateful day in August 2025, the Higgins was conducting what the U.S. Navy calls a freedom of navigation patrol near Scarborough Shoal, a reef claimed by China but also contested by the Philippines. According to Washington, this was a lawful exercise in international waters, meant to underline the principle that no country should be allowed to close off global commons as their own backyard. But in Beijing's eyes, the American destroyer was an intruder violating Chinese sovereignty. China's Southern Theater Command quickly announced that its warships had monitored and driven away the USS Higgins. Chinese media amplified the message, painting a picture of Chinese forces heroically blocking the American vessel and defending their homeland. But the U.S. Navy wasted no time in issuing a sharp denial. The Higgins, it said, had completed its mission according to plan and departed the area on its own accord, not because it was forced to leave. This stark clash of narratives only deepened the fog surrounding the event, leaving the world to wonder whose version of reality was closer to the truth. What cannot be denied, however, is the symbolism of the encounter. China and the United States are two giants circling each other in the Pacific, testing limits, measuring resolve, and sending signals. The act of blocking a U.S. destroyer, even if just a symbolic gesture, marks a dramatic escalation. It is one thing for Beijing to claim disputed rocks and reefs, but quite another to physically confront the warships of the world's most powerful navy. The echoes of this incident are not confined to Scarborough Shoal. They reverberate through the Pentagon, across Capitol Hill, and throughout allied capitals in Asia, where leaders are carefully recalculating what a US-China clash might mean for their own futures. Scarborough Shoal itself has long been a flashpoint. Located about 120 nautical miles west of the Philippines, it has been a site of bitter confrontations between Chinese and Philippine ships for years. In 2012, China effectively seized control of the shoal after a tense standoff, pushing out Philippine fishermen and installing a constant Coast Guard presence. Yet under international law, as reinforced by a 2016 Hague Tribunal ruling, China's claims to the shoal and much of the South China Sea have no legal basis. Washington has repeatedly cited this ruling to justify its freedom of navigation patrols. But Beijing, ignoring the verdict, has pressed ahead with fortifying reefs, constructing artificial islands, and deploying naval assets to entrench its hold. Against this backdrop, the arrival of the USS Higgins was no random maneuver. It was a calculated assertion of American power, a reminder to both China and regional allies that the US is not stepping away from Asia. The fact that the Higgins was joined by another vessel, the USS Cincinnati, only amplified that message. Together, these ships represented not just steel and firepower but also America's broader commitment to defending an open Indo-Pacific. To many in the Philippines, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian nations wary of China's growing dominance, this deployment was a reassuring sign that they were not alone. Yet reassurance comes with risks. China's reaction was swift and confrontational, a reminder that Beijing views any U.S. presence near its claimed territory as a provocation. Reports indicate that multiple Chinese warships shadowed the Higgins, maneuvering aggressively and attempting to block its path. At the same time, Chinese fighter jets intercepted a Philippine Coast Guard aircraft flying nearby, passing dangerously close in what Manila described as an unsafe and aggressive act. These parallel moves revealed China's broader strategy, to signal that it will confront not just American ships but also regional allies if they dare to challenge Beijing's dominance. For the US audience watching these developments unfold, the question looms, are we witnessing the early tremors of a future war? The South China Sea may seem distant, but its stakes are deeply tied to American interests. Every year, American businesses rely on the free flow of goods through these waters. Every year, US allies from Japan to the Philippines look to Washington for security guarantees. And every year, Beijing expands its naval power, aiming to one day eclipse US dominance in the Pacific. The clash over the USS Higgins may not have triggered a direct battle, but it dramatized the thin line between routine patrols and potential catastrophe. The United States and China are locked in a dangerous dance. Each move, each countermove, is carefully choreographed yet unpredictable, like a game of high-stakes poker where the smallest miscalculation could trigger an uncontrollable chain of events. The blocking of the USS Higgins was not just about one ship or one shoal. It was a test of wills between two superpowers whose rivalry is shaping the 21st century. And for Americans, it raised a chilling possibility, that the next great conflict might not start in Europe or the Middle East, but in the waters of the South China Sea.